to Calaveras Behind the Badge, where our commitment to community engagement, transparency, and open dialogue takes center stage. I'm Greg Stark, Lieutenant with the Calaveras County Sheriff's Office, Public Information Officer, and your host as we explore challenges we face and the role of law enforcement. So whether you're tuning in during your morning commute or on a hike through our beautiful county, we're glad to have you with us, and let's get started. Today's episode, we're diving into fire service and how it interacts with law enforcement in Calaveras County. Specifically with me is Ebbetts Pass Chief Johnson. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good. I'm glad to have you here, and it's nice to have a local fire representative on the podcast with us.
Oh, appreciate it.
Yeah, most people that when I told them what we're doing on the podcast, they assume we only interact with accidents and fires, but specifically with Ebbetts Pass, you're such a agency that's ingrained in the community up there. There's so many things at your hub at Station 1 that people may not know about. I hope we're going to touch on some of those today.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
All right. So before we get started, we have a little tradition. We like to talk about who we're talking to and a little bit of a background and, where you came from, what you do as hobbies. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Mike Johnson, Ebbetts Pass Fire District Fire Chief. And, as far as where my career started, I grew up in a small town of 100 people, and there were just a handful of role models, right, of what you want to do with your life. And, yep. Boy, it could be the post office, a bartender, and the local volunteer fire department was one of those role models. And I latched on to the people there and how they carried themselves and what they were doing. And obviously, it was very interesting to me. So that's where I got started in 1993, El Dorado County Fire, volunteer firefighter.
Wow.
And yeah, got me hooked, if you will. And then, a few short years into it, I got hired with the United States Forest Service, worked 1 year on a hand crew out there on the El Dorado, and then I got a chance to work on a fire engine for the Forest Service, and that took me all the way to Las Vegas, Nevada, believe it or not. Yeah, a small, little over 300,000 acres of forest is down there in the Spring Mountain National Recreation Area.
Okay.
And I got to work on a fire engine, so I started doing that and really enjoyed it. Always knew that I wanted to go into a municipal fire agency.
Okay.
And got hired with the county down there, Clark County Fire, and started my career in the municipality as a paid person there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some opportunities to promote and ended up becoming an assistant fire chief there, which I did quite a few different roles, but the primary role, I guess, or the one that resonates the most with me was working with the volunteer fire stations in Clark County as their, assistant chief or liaison.
Mm-hmm.
And so 13 stations took me all over southern Nevada, which that particular geographical area is about 8,000 square miles. So I was bouncing around and seeing and doing and getting experience. And honestly, there's an opportunity to return to California and applied for the position in Ebbetts Pass, and shocked that they offered me a job as a fire chief in 2014. So it's been over a decade, actually over 11 years I've been in this position. And boy, it's been a fantastic career, and I'm really thankful. And this is a great place to be right here, and this is where I'm going to retire.
You mentioned something earlier when you're talking, you're hooked, and a lot of times you get that from first responders and in most jobs, but first responders, they get that hook, that excitement, the calling, if you will, and you almost have to have that to endure some of the hardships that you have to, shift worked, right. The things you see and whatnot. So that's interesting. And you came back to a like area similar to El Dorado. I mean, similar terrain to some degree, and
right.
Yeah, almost full circle. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. It gives me chills just looking back and just thinking about the ride, Greg, and it's been a great one.
Yeah, volunteer to supervising volunteers to chief. That's that could be a book. So Ebbetts Pass. For the listeners, what are the district boundaries? Tell us a little bit, how many firefighters do you have? How many? Is there an auxiliary? What's Ebbetts Pass about?
Sure, we'll start with kind of the geographical area. It's 225 square miles.
Okay.
A lot of that is, forested land, SPI, Forest Service, not a lot of people out in those areas, right? But we have our population dense areas that people would probably recognize, such as Forest Meadows, Avery, Hathaway Pines, Arnold, Dorrington, all the way up to Sky High. Interesting that something that people may not know is, we have the Tuolumne borders us on the river down to Stanislaus, and then Alpine County line right before you get to Bear Valley. So we border Alpine County, and we also touch Amador, which you might not think of that, but that Calaveras Dome and that part of the river, the Tuolumne. So we got and 2 fire districts, Murphy's Fire Protection District and Central, that we also share borders with them. Okay. So that's pretty neat. And then, of course, West Point, too. So we've got a whole bunch of, borders, and we kind of feel like we hold down the fort for the county on that particular side of it. Right. As far as firefighters go, we got 27 line personnel that are paid. Okay. So 9 people on shift, 24 hours, 3 shifts each and every day. We have, I think we're up to 17 paramedics now that are firefighters as well. So part of that 17 are paramedics. Okay. Which advanced life support services, including ambulance transport, is a huge part of our business. Right. It's probably one of the things that has kept us so ingrained with the community is being that, that medical provider and getting people to hospitals when they need to. Right. And so, so thankful to be, partnered with the community for that. We do have volunteers, very few nowadays. Right. I think we generally have about 5 or 6 on the roster, full-blown volunteer firefighters that help out when needed. Auxiliary group that provides a, specialized services, I'd say. So let's just say, Greg, somebody from the community comes in and maybe they have a special skill set from an occupation that they retired from, like, communications, and they want to continue to, contribute in that way. We definitely appreciate those types of folks coming forward because we can utilize those specialized skills in-house, if people want to contribute some of their time.
So you're saying there's a volunteer fireman that basically has all the certifications of I don't want to say a regular fireman, but a full-time paid fireman. Sure. They go out and fill in, and then there's, are they called auxiliary?
Auxiliary,
So you have an auxiliary team that comes in and former IT or maybe a mechanic or things like that to come help offset your cost to, help reduce your overall operating costs.
Yeah, can you imagine somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, I have just retired from cybersecurity and I'm looking to, fill my retirement days from time to time. Can I do something for the fire district?" Right. Obviously, our operational staff, I've never seen one have that kind of background, right? Right. And so it's like, oh, are you kidding me? That's something we all desperately fear these days, cybersecurity, and you may get somebody that has a skill like that.
Yeah, that's really, especially with an area like Arnold, some of those IT jobs or that part of the county, IT, graphic engineering, your website design, they could donate their time and, help you free up your time to go do things that relate strictly to, saving lives, first responder duties.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then so you're the chief.
Correct.
And then is there a governing board?
There is. There's a 5 board of directors, and they're elected officials. Okay. And they serve 4-year terms. And again, Ebbetts Pass is my first exposure to a board that just oversees fire. Just the business of the fire district. And what a wonderful thing to have and to work for is a group of people that focus only on, all the business of the fire district and our mission. So that's great. They're not looking at, maybe projects and things like that fall outside of just what our mission is. So it's really great.
Nice. So you talked about the area. What type of calls for service does your fireman usually run?
Well, we run anywhere between 1,000 and 1,200 calls a year. Okay. And our statistics run pretty true to the rest of the nation. The vast majority are medical, somewhere between 70 and 80% are medical in nature. And then
really that high?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we transport, between 700 and 800 times a year to the hospital in our ambulances. So when you look at the bulk of what we do, I think there's a lot of pride in to say that, hey, I'm a firefighter. And the reality is the mass majority, you're an ambulance attendant,
Right.
and people in need are people in need. We don't care the emergency.
Good point.
Right?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So about 1,200 calls a year, 1,000 to 1,200. Do your calls differ? Just kind of thinking about what you were talking about. You talked about you border Alpine, so I imagine your calls for service are different in the winter, obviously, than summer, especially with them being geographically isolated with the environmental conditions during winter.
Yeah, very good point. We are impacted with snow type of emergencies, and maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later. But
okay.
The Sky High Ranch area, for example, in our district, our partners at Bear Valley Fire, they typically have a tracked vehicle, at a certain point of the year earlier on than we do in Arnold. So let's say we have an emergency need up in that subdivision at Sky High. We'll lean on that mutual aid from Bear Valley to come in and, cooperatively work with our staff to mitigate whatever emergency it is with a tracked, small fire engine, So we're constantly, it's very cyclic every time of year, when it's coming, which is good. But it's through that partnership that we get it done. So that's fantastic.
So touching on that, you mentioned tracked vehicles. What type of special equipment do you have for that?
Yeah, we have some side-by-sides that we've purchased over the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years, Polaris Ranger type. We started out with a 2-door. We bought some tracks for it. We weren't too sure exactly the capabilities of such a specialized piece of equipment, and we were very happy with the result. We were able to, pretty much just go over any type of snow and any depth of snow. We had some pretty record, I'd say in recent decades, snowfall hit us and really cripple the ability for the snow plows to keep the subdivisions clear, trees into power lines, keeping, traditional vehicles from going in and out, essentially people trapped in their homes or cabins.
Right.
And those tracked vehicles were so essential. We leaned on the sheriff's office cooperatively and put together a task force. Even the Forest Service lent us some equipment that had tracks on it and pretty much pooled all the tracked vehicles with your search and rescue group. And law enforcement and fire and deployed them out to aid the community.
Yeah, it's funny when people think about, oh, it's snowing, it's nice, it's peaceful. The roads may, travel on the roads may stop, but the emergencies don't. People still have heart issues. People still have other issues, medical issues, and then it's compounded when the power goes out and their breathing machine doesn't work or their oxygen generator. So it's actually sometimes more impactful when there's snow than, you figure, oh, people huddle inside, less accidents. Yeah, kind of, but then the roads are slippery and,
Yeah, for a time, I think people are pretty resilient, right? So they have maybe some fuel for the generator or even propane for the generator. The food supply is good. Communication with loved ones stays pretty resilient for at least a few days.
Right.
Cellular eventually goes away, things start going away. And once that communication infrastructure goes away and loved ones call 911 and say, hey, I haven't heard from, my family. They call every week. There's a big storm. I can't get a hold of them. Pretty soon we're out there, making sure they're okay.
Right. And your Station 1 up there in Arnold is a perfect area or perfect location for, lack of a better term, emergency hub. I remember we had Office Emergency Services, Calaveras up there, and we set up in your training room, and we were dispatching calls out of that. And, again, more than just your typical fire department, we're running side-by-side tracks, helping out. And what other things in the community, what part of your outreach do you guys do there at the office?
Boy, community outreach, really never stops.
Okay.
We're definitely... We host an annual, I shouldn't say we host, we heavily participate in a town hall meeting, called the Wildfire Awareness Day. It's first Saturday in May. That's a nationally recognized day for that type of event. So Independence Hall, we work with the community, some of the community leaders that kind of spearhead the event. and us and Sheriff's Office, Office of Emergency Services for the county, cooperators like PG&E show up, and we talk about, we change the lineup, but primarily it's getting ready for fire season. So that's a community outreach where everybody shows up and people can get resources. We're heavily involved with providing CPR and AED or early or advanced early defibrillation training to the middle school, to civic groups, to if you can get a group of 6 people together, we're going to provide that training.
Nice.
And it's proven fact that if you have a witness cardiac arrest and you can apply that AED and start CPR, the percentage of having a successful outcome are just tremendously change versus waiting for an emergency responder, right?
Right.
So the more AEDs that can be placed out in the community, trained, people want to act quickly, it could mean the difference between life or death. So, I mean, those are probably the key community outreach items that we do on a regular basis.
So you see a lot of grants or a lot of agencies or even community organizations getting the AEDs. It's nice to have that equipment, but if you don't know how to use it, it's virtually useless.
Well, and there is a common misconception, right, that, if I put this on, I could hurt them more, right?
Right.
And I'm scared of
that. Yeah.
So if they go, hey, there's no hesitation, and the machine's smart enough to know if they're in a shockable rhythm or not, it asks and prompts you, to, make sure you're clear and shock, things like that. But with some familiarization training people in the community, if they act on it, like I said, it really is the difference.
Right. And does that training cost anything?
If you want to get the we call it the National Heart Association for a medical provider, then there's a cost for that. It's $25 per person.
That's not bad.
It's to get the card, for the paperwork for them to process.
Employee cost, yeah.
Right. So, but if you need when we go out to the school or whatnot, we just go ahead and do that, provide the training. It's really awareness training at that point.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you talked about the full-time employees, the firefighters, the auxiliary.
Yes.
Is there? Do the firefighters have an association up there?
They do. They have the Ebbetts Pass Firefighters Association.
Okay.
And they're involved with the community. We do an annual barbecue, appreciation day. There's a little bit of a entertainment band, if you will, Oak Circle. It happens near Independence Day. This year will be on Independence Day, but it's that Saturday closest to the 4th of July. It coincides with the parade that happens up there in Arnold for Independence Day. So
very cool.
We do that. The Alicia Ann Rouge Burn Foundation, they cook meals both in the summer for the summer trip and in the winter ski trip for them.
Oh.
And then they do some fundraising that helps fund all those other things. So,
right. Yeah. Nice. So you talked about the side-by-side, the tracks, and some of the equipment. You mentioned you started in 1993, and obviously it's a different world as, we all have cell phones and whatnot, and the radios are smaller and better, and, everything seems to, be obsolete every 3 years as opposed to every 10 years, from what I remember growing up through the service from law enforcement. What role does technology play in modern firefighting or even modern emergency responses at Ebbetts Pass? Yeah,
I think you're seeing such a huge variety of technology coming at us, right, from all different angles. I think in a more urban setting, which we're not, I'm seeing a lot of, I think they call it HAAS, which is an alerting system that gets pushed out from our fire engines that notifies people with newer vehicles with a big screen that says, like a weather alert, if you've seen that, it tells you that, emergency vehicles in the area. Very, very effective for traffic control.
Gotcha.
Newer vehicles, as being in law enforcement, it's harder to hear those sirens, right?
Right.
They're so insulated.
Very.
And so now they got this big, beautiful screen that blasts an emergency vehicle. You look in your rearview mirror. Who knows, right?
I'm driving. I should pay attention.
Pay attention. Yeah. So I see that the drone, how drones are providing more and more information for operational items, even on a house fire. When you can see above the house fire and see where the smoke's coming out of the roof, it may impact your ability to call certain tactical calls for an incident commander.
Wow.
It does require a certain level of, operator competency though, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not there yet in our district, small, obviously, but in bigger fire departments that have a dedicated drone operator, that's a big deal. Matter of fact, I remember how brilliant your guys' drone was when we were out there on Calaveras Dome with the sheriff's office and doing some pictures. That was really neat. Yeah,
the drones that's definitely changing the way we do business for law enforcement, and I never would have thought of that for the fire service. And I imagine, it would make it safer if you could see that, and I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'll say that right now. The fire behavior is doing one thing, so we should, like you said, change our tactics to make it safer for the firefighters, go, no go, that kind of thing. Right. And then on the other hand, well, that's something that makes it safer. We struggle with this. Do we have the personnel to do the basics? Right. And then we should sprinkle on some gingerbread. So, maybe that's where maybe an auxiliary member could I'm not going to go into the fire, but I'll run your drone for you.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
If they're listening right now, please call Ebbetts Pass Fire District drone operator, auxiliary member. Yeah, we're looking at that. Two last items that come to mind are having a thermal imaging camera, which was, 20 years ago, it was a big, huge device that you held in your hand, and now they're literally on our air packs.
Wow.
So everybody has one. And then there's the technology where we can track people inside of a structure fire based off of their self-contained breathing apparatus too. So we used to just imagine, where are you at? Where are people if firefighters go down?
Right.
So they have that technology. Bluetooth is another one. Bluetooth from the radio to a Vox headset that you can transmit out rather than trying to listen or transmit through a muffled SCBA. So,
right.
Yeah.
So speaking through we call them gas masks, you call them SCBAs. Speaking through a rubber mask providing air to you, it's really hard to hear. It's really hard to, so having that's really cool. And then, tracking of your resources, where your firefighters are, that's invaluable to the incident commander on scene of, hey, especially on a downed, God forbid a downed fireman, how to access them as quickly as possible. That's right. Invaluable. And again, 20 years ago, that was unheard of.
Yeah.
It was just
couldn't do it.
Didn't know. It wasn't even invented. So you mentioned the wildfire preparedness. You mentioned some of that. Before we get into that, what are some of the unique challenges facing Ebbetts Pass other than the environmental? Does your district size and road limitations cause any challenges?
Yeah, certainly. We've been out there, searching for missing people, and we have lots of different types of recreation in our area, right? So a lot of hiking trails. We got big trees, state park, lots of, single track for dirt bikers, and don't forget the loggers that are out there working every day, right?
Right.
So it's kind of a moving target, We try to employ, whatever kind of specialized equipment we think will get us out there. Those side-by-sides have really been a fantastic tool for us.
Game changer, yeah.
We recently bought a Jeep Gladiator for a new utility vehicle.
Oh, nice.
We found that, for instance, the Sourgrass Trail, that little Jeep trail that goes...
Piney Needles, I think they call it?
Pine Needle Flat, yeah. We had a hiker, so they didn't have their own vehicle, have a medical aid.
Oh, man.
And we could only get back so far in our pickup trucks. So now we're going to... And our side-by-sides aren't quite equipped for rock crawling, right? So we took a page out of Georgetown Fire District, and they had something similar to build of what we're going to do. So we're going to have that tool. It'll be good for Corral Hollow, the trail that goes up and around out of Bear Valley there. And then we do go into Slick Rock when needed. It's Alpine County area, but we're the medical provider up there for the ambulance. So we're outfitting that now. So trying to diversify that toolbox a little bit.
Yeah, I never would have thought of that. And smart that you're not inventing the wheel. You're just using what somebody else has and making it your own. I like that. That's going to really provide service to those outer lying areas, whether it be, an established trail or a, unauthorized trail, if you will. Just regardless, like you said, people in emergency or people in an emergency.
Yeah.
That's good that you guys are this is our limitations. How do we overcome that? Instead of saying, this is our limitations, that's how it's going to be, making sure that you provide services for everybody. So back to the wildfires. You mentioned you partnered in May with the wildfire preparedness. What are some of the things, and it's an interesting concept because it's October now. I'm not sure when this is going to be released. We just had some rain and we're going into winter, which probably sparked some of our winter conversations earlier. But for fire season, especially with California's history with wildfires, and seems like the historic wildfires and as fast as they're moving, how do you help the community prepare for those? And let's dive a little bit deeper in what people can do to make themselves either fire safe or, to coin the phrase, national phrase, fire wise. What could they do?
Well, I think fire wise is a real hot recognition right now, meaning that a lot of HOAs that are already fire wise, they're seeing the benefits, a small discount on home insurance.
Right. So if you are in if you're in an area that with a designated fire-wise community,
correct,
you get or could get a reduction in your fire insurance premiums.
That is correct, especially if you're on the California Fair Plan.
Gotcha.
And it's going to a tiered system, from what I understand. So it used to be a standard deduction, and now it's going to be more itemized beyond that standard deduction. Like, maybe you have double pane windows, or you have, your eaves are closed in, things like that. You could get more deeper discounts, but that's kind of forthcoming right now.
Okay.
So right now, with the home insurance being so high,
right,
and it's everywhere, Greg. It's not just here in
correct,
Calaveras.
Correct.
California for the wildfires and other areas for other naturally, occurring disasters. It's impacting that whole industry. But for us, the communities that are outside of the FireWise, they're seeking that FireWise recognition. So it's an FPA program, so it's national. It's not something homegrown,
right?
And it really kind of falls in line in regards to what CAL FIRE does with that Public Resource Code 4291. That's the defensible space.
Right.
So it's not a departure from what people should already be doing.
Right. So
pretty easy.
Whether you're part of the FireWise and doing it for obvious reasons for reduction in rates, it's still, even if you're not in FireWise, that's still something you should be partaking in. Making sure your lot's clean, making sure the vegetation's pulled away, things like that. That's a given for reaching out to the community, and the more they harden their homes from fire, the more it's going to make, I don't want to say make your job easier, but you can make better decisions when people have that around their houses.
Yeah, I think the what people need to embrace is this work is ongoing, right? So let's say right now we're, like you said, whenever you watch this, it may not be October, but it's October right now for us. So right now, as a homeowner, I'm starting to clean around my house, and of course, because rain's coming, I'm blowing out the gutters, trees and everything are leaving their leaves, pine needles, and I'm going to do as much clearing as I can so I don't have as much work to do in the spring, right? So I'll get all that kind of cleared up and limbed up, and then moving forward, by the time I hit that April-May time, make sure I'm in complete compliance. Obviously, summers can get busy for both of us, right? So I don't have time to do the work then, and I'd rather do it myself, save a little money and good exercise. So once it's all done, and now I'm at work and we're fighting fires, I know that if you've done the work as a community member too, if a fire does occur, from within the community, and you've done your job, and the honest facts are that structure fires cause wildland fires too, right? So, and structure fires happen. So what we found is when they do happen, if it's contained to that one parcel, it keeps the rest of the community safe too. Right. So we're kind of keeping ourselves safe, helping our homes be more fire resilient, and keeping the rest of the community safe in case the unfortunate situation if we have a fire at our house.
Right. So there's a couple common denominators between winter events and at times summer events or fire events with weather. So can you talk a little bit about how people can be situationally aware, how the weather patterns, usually it's foreseeable, We know generally when a winter storm is coming, or generally there's a lot of news talk about the PSPS or high winds. Sure. So talk about how people could, their awareness help your job.
Sure. I think that, if let's just say you need a little extra time to, maybe go to another location or things like that, or travel's not as easy as it once used to be. We have a fairly aging demographic in my area. So our recommendation is, hey, if you don't like driving on icy roads or, low traction situations, and you have another family member you can go to, and a big storm's coming in the area, please go ahead and do that.
Right.
And let's be proactive. Same thing for wildfire too.
Right.
If you're, you're not very ambulatory, you can't get around real well, don't wait for the order for the fire, right?
Right.
Maybe when it's, hey, well, here's the warning.
Right.
Get out now, so don't wait till the last minute. So, again, if you come up to your cabin and it's a second home and you have an option and it's going to be a big winter storm, and you don't want to be stuck or trapped,
right,
stay home. Or if it's a rental and you short-term rental it, maybe don't rent during those times.
Right.
Those are some suggestions, and that really helps us, right?
Right. Especially if you are local and you have, I'm gonna say you don't have a place to go, but you don't want to leave your home. Stock up on food, stock up on medicine, stock up on things that you can stock up on, and then let your family know, preemptively, hey, the power's going to go out, communication's going to go down. I'm able to make it. I have food and water, so they don't call us. I haven't talked to so-and-so in 4 weeks, and now there's a storm, or again, in fire season, make sure your car has gas at the end of the day or enough to get out of the area. And, it's good. The fire patterns, the weather patterns may not be predictable, but we can see them coming.
Right.
It's not a tornado that touches down, unexpectedly in the middle of the night. They're generally enough warning of it's on the way, be ready.
Yes. Yeah. And that PSPS for the, PG&E, they have when the high winds come, shut the power down. One thing we partnered with PG&E on, I think about 7 years ago, is we allowed them to put a microgrid switch at the fire station.
Okay.
And they can plug into it with a generator and power certain commercial services for the community when the power goes out. So.
Okay. Any other things? So you talked about order. There's an evacuation order where something's imminent, it's time to go. Right. Warnings. There's something probably going to impact you. There's a lot of talk about evacuations and, which way do I go? Do I go up the road? Do I go down the road? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Certainly, yeah. Everybody remembers the Paradise Fire, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a recent movie, about a bus driver, right? So, I mean, it's good that it stays mindful, but we're on a Highway 4 corridor. I mean, it's pretty much either you go east or west or up or down, depending however you want to look at it. And we always encourage people that they need to really set their mind to being able to go up and over the summit at Highway 4, over Ebbetts Pass. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't want to go that way. Number one, it's windy. Doesn't even have a yellow line on some parts of it.
Right.
And it takes a long time if you want to go down to the valley, right, where most people are connected to family members. So it's just, for a lot of reasons, people just don't go that way. But it's the safest way to go if a fire is coming up below. A great example is the recent fire that was in Murphy's, what they called the 2-7 fire, right there on Highway 4 at Murphy's. And we never got an evacuation order up in the district that I work in. But if it were to happen, that's where the threat is.
You do not want to drive toward the fire.
Or downhill into the fire, right?
Right into
You want to drive up and away, right? And it's a rare possibility, but it's a possibility. Maybe there is a fire that's above the population-dense areas that we serve. And in that case, by all means, it's great to go down and away from the fire. That's where you should go. But it's a less likely situation. So a little situational awareness.
Okay.
Some people ask, like, well, how do I know that? And where's the fire? And say, well, if the technology hasn't told you, you can go outside and look at where the dark black smoke's coming from.
Right.
And if there's blue sky up the hill, I need you to go that way.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not sure what the fire service calls that, but I think that's what the FBI calls a clue.
A clue.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go away from the dark black cloud as fast as you can safely. You touched on the 2-7 fire that happened not too long ago. And while it wasn't a massive fire in terms of acreage, it was still impactful to the community. How do you coordinate, or what efforts does Ebbetts Pass do to coordinate with other fire agencies or other fire districts in the county?
Sure. Well, first off, you got to tip your hat to CAL FIRE, right? Mm-hmm. They're the wildfire lead in the majority of my area. We call it the state response area.
Okay.
And, well, they're the biggest fire department in the nation, to my knowledge, and they are a fantastic professional organization that knows what they're doing as far as wildfire suppression. So hats off to them. And we work under that authority sometimes when we're fighting the fires in their area. They are the authority. So good on them. And working together with all the fire agencies, all the local fire agencies. There's 10 of them here in Calaveras County. Okay. And we just met yesterday morning. I mean, the fire chiefs for all those that area. Okay. And we got a real close-knit group that works hard on providing these services for the community as a whole. We have a joint powers authority that binds those groups together. Okay. And beyond that, we have a fantastic active Fire Chiefs Association, which includes the sheriff's office, right? It includes Office of Emergency Services for both the county and the state, the other partnering ambulance services, Red Cross, PG&E, and we get together once a month or once every other month, depending, and we coordinate efforts really to provide public safety for the county. Right. And we're super proud of these relationships here, and it's just, again, a great place to work. If you're in that kind of business and you want to have good relationships and do good work and know your partners, and I think most of us all call each other friends because we are, it's wonderful to be here in Calaveras County.
Yeah, I think it's important for the listener specifically, for the county and Ebbetts Pass to understand that, that fire chiefs meeting is so vital to get together and talk about things that happen or happening in the county. There's a long list of what they do or what you guys do, from radio programming to purchasing radios to purchasing or facilitating the purchase of body armor for some of the firemen in the area, for the rescue task force or the rescue response during active shooter or hostile incidents. There's just so many things. Again, you see a fire truck, that's not just for fighting fires. There's so much that goes into that, right? Especially being, like I said before, that community hub up there in Arnold, where that's the community meeting center. That's during emergencies, and having every chief's phone number. Hey, can you send this? Can you send that? On a first name basis. It's important, again, for people to know how special of a relationship that is. I've had the luxury or the opportunity to go around the state and witness that, and that's not always the case. Having, like you said, the friendships, there's a duty, but when it's a friend, that duty becomes more ingrained and more urgent. And when you live in the community and your friends are there and your coworkers, it just brings an extra gear, if you will, to get things done.
Absolutely.
So Ebbetts Pass, you talked about being on the cutting edge, getting that Gladiator, getting some drone, or working on getting the drone work and whatnot. Right. Drone operators call in. How does your department support the health and wellness of your firefighters? So,
sure.
Again, when I grew up in law enforcement, it wasn't necessarily as talked about, if you will, as it is today, which I think is a great thing. So what does Ebbetts Pass have going for that?
Yeah, and I think to start off on, some of the recent developments over our career time is, mental health fitness. And I'm so proud of the industry of where we are today versus where we once were. And certainly starting out in the 90s, there was a certain ironclad attitude that you had to, bear down and take the stressful things and the, for lack of a better word, the horrors you see in public safety. Yeah. And you were kind of, measured on that. Like, hey, can you hang with this group or not?
Right.
It's not the case today. I mean, you definitely see all those same things. Emergencies are just as gruesome as they ever have been, but there's a much healthier work environment for, people to be get the kind of support they need to work through, things that are challenging.
Right.
I'm an honest believer in this job has a cumulative stress level, and they never taught us that, and that I can remember when we were starting out in these jobs. But it's there, and it's not year 1, 2, or 3 or whatever it is. It's year 30 sometimes when it's taken its toll, and it leaves you with a lesser quality of life than if you would have dealt with it incrementally along the way. And I think that's where we're at today, Greg, is dealing with it incrementally as we're going along through.
Right.
Everybody has an EAP, employee assistant program, but more importantly, it seems like there's that peer support that exists, that the people that are in the early part of their career right now do favor. So that's healthy. On the other end of it, we are doing at Ebbetts Pass, we're doing a NFPA 1582 physical, and includes some questionnaire items for what we talked about. But more importantly, it's a very comprehensive cancer screening.
Oh, wow.
Very comprehensive cardiovascular performance, based VO2 max, treadmill, those type of things. So we can keep our responders as healthy as they can. Not only do we want them to be healthy at work,
right?
That's very important, but we want them to live a long, healthy life well into the years of retirement too.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, again, basing this on no formal training whatsoever, it just seems to be 1993 when you started, there seems to be less plastics, less carcinogenics that are burning, some of the batteries in the cars or the electric cars. There's a lot more challenges and exposure to either different exposures or increased exposures that you're facing now, and doing those early cancer screenings hopefully catches the cancer earlier with a greater success of, beating it, really.
Right. I mean, here's some, interesting facts. Is in the beginning when I started, it was bunker boots alongside of your bed.
Okay.
And then you jump in that and pull your turnouts up and then go out in the bay and leave. And then they were like, ooh, we don't want to have those carcinogens that's tracked on the boots. And, even though you clean the garments, there's still some carcinogens left over from a burning couch or something like that. In your bedroom, that would be bad, right? So then we put them out in the engine bay. And then we found that as the fire engines that are going in and out while your turnouts are sitting there because your pants are pulled over your boots, right? The exhaust carcinogens were going on to the inside of the turnouts, and you were pulling them up, near your growing area, which is very susceptible to carcinogens, and people were getting cancer that way. So now we've gone to the point where, things are getting to the point where there's a clean cab initiative for fire trucks, so the carcinogens wouldn't be in the actual fire cab.
Right. So
it's ever evolving, and it's just getting better for our employees, safer.
We say bunker boots. Are those big, like, I don't want to say knee high, but over the calf?
You know what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about, yeah.
So there's a difference between those and then the station boots that you wear around.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So recognizing and tracking back where that happens, or how did this unfortunate thing happen? How do we prevent it? Because, that's officer or firefighter wellness. That's an evolving trade, if you will.
Yeah.
And it takes everybody to, like you said, the clean cab initiative. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
So touching back a little bit, you mentioned the fire preparedness for your agency. Is there anything, and the fire preparedness just reminded me of a question I was going to ask earlier. Is there anything or any significant call for service or incident that comes to mind, that, like a success, if you will, that you want to share with the listeners of how all this stuff we've kind of talked to comes together?
Yeah, there's so many calls, that come to mind. But for us up in our area, I really think not to go back to the winter response again.
Right.
But up and down the state, wildfire suppression is key.
Right.
And there's some, that system is just so honed, and it's such a efficient system. It's lots of resources. But when we're struggling up there with our winter response, I'd say what I'm most proud of is this all hands on deck. We're doing it all for the right reasons. We ask a few questions about why this, why that, and we're providing a service for the community when we're going out there and getting the people and helping them out with, the sheriff's office, right? The Forest Service, CAL FIRE, and there is no like, hey, we just don't do that. And it's like, okay, where are we putting who and how long, whatever. It's really the purest form of providing public service with a community and in desperate need. So just so thankful for that.
Yeah. And that, that's interesting you said that, because to my knowledge, we hadn't practiced that. We had an ICS system to fall back on of this is the structure. But it was, what's the problem? Who's got what? Let's get it done. Yeah. And then we looked back on it and said, hey, that wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad. Let's knock some corners off and let's formalize a few things. And, we need a couple more extension cords for this or that. And it worked out pretty good. And you're right. It's that attitude of, and you nailed it earlier, helping people's helping people.
Yeah, it is.
Somebody's out of fuel or whatever, and they need, to be pulled out from their house and taken somewhere warm. And I say pulled out, rescued from their house, taken somewhere warm.
Certainly.
And, it takes the road department cutting trees so the side-by-sides can get through there. Right. It takes everybody to get that person to safety. And could you do it with one? Yes, maybe. But so much easier, smoother. I don't know how to run a chainsaw, but you guys do. And, the road department does. And, just, again, that's a special thing that I really hope the listeners in Calaveras, because that happens around the county and specifically in Ebbetts Pass, understand that it's there, the cops versus firemen and, donut eaters versus barbecuers. I get it. That's still there. But when there's something going on, it's, hey, come on, let's go do this. I really, that's the fun part of the job for me. And I know it is for you. We talked about that the other day. That's the fun part where, we all just get together and get it done.
It is. It also reminds me of some of the unique things that we have to train for. A lot of swift water, a lot of river rescue, ice rescue.
Wow.
Up there as well.
Touch on ice rescue. Do you have special equipment for that, or is it just throw a rope?
No, it's full-blown dry suits, put firefighters in dry suits.
Wow.
Walk out on the ice. For training, that we go into the ice and then we rescue one another. Wow. And then we got an ice boat, which is really a fancy term for a big air-up boat that you scooch out over the water, So, we do those things.
You said swift water. We've trained the Calaveras swift water rescue team for volunteers. Have trained with you guys before. And another one that was really cool was the Cal Dome. You touched on that earlier, and
epic, right?
Yeah. For those who aren't familiar, Calaveras Dome is I'll call it a mini half dome. That's the best way to describe it, where you can access it through our upcountry. And people from all over the world, it's a world-renowned climbing area that has suffered some losses over the years. And again, your staff identified it as our capabilities were there, but that need to be honed, and we need to have some P&Ps and SOPs fleshed out. So thank you to your staff for not only recognizing it, because people see hazards all the time and they just kind of ignore it. It won't happen. If I don't look, it won't happen. But kudos to you guys for getting that put together and putting together the training. So talk a little bit about what that training entailed.
Well, thank you personally, by the way, because I know you had a lot to do with that lift, and goes back to the partnership, right? Mm-hmm. But let's start with, we have an in-house battalion chief. His name is Matt O'Donnell. He's going to love that I'm mentioning his name on this. He's such a talent that is, he's the cream of the crop no matter where you go. Mm-hmm. So, the gentleman's written books. I mean, he's that good. Mm-hmm. So Matt had mentioned that this had been on his radar for like 20 years, and he's a mountaineering guru in his personal time, so it's not a stretch.
He's a billy goat. I've seen him go up stuff that
if there's anybody that was going to take on this challenge, it would be him. And so we were like together, and you and I had the conversation. We're like, hey, let's do it. Let's put responders on a 12 pitch or 1,200 foot rappel with a Stokes basket all the way from the top to the bottom of this hidden gem dome that people only that know about it can go to. And we pulled it off, and it was one of those things that it was such a fantastic feat with the search and rescue team, a small group of our staff from Ebbetts Pass that had that skill level to do it, and put together an actual response plan.
Right. And again, a very low frequency event, but for those who aren't familiar, the 12 pitch is basically 12 resets. So meaning reset, you have an anchor at the top, you go down a certain amount to an area that's safe, you reset an anchor, and you use the ropes again. And it's not a 1,200 foot rope or more from the top to the bottom, which would be pretty easy, but extremely heavy and cumbersome, and fill in the blanks with that. But it was a very long evolution, and why that was important. Can we do it on Cal Dome again? Absolutely we can. Can we go to other agencies in the region to help them with a 1 or 2 pitch after 12? 1 or 2 pitch is not hard. And there's a lot of areas in the county, like you said, a lot of hikers, a lot of recreationers, where there's some ravines that if they go down, we need the capability to go down there and extract them, because helicopters are not always an option due to various reasons. But having that ability, if you can do 12, 4 is nothing.
Right.
That was, yes, we wanted to do Cal Dome, but yes, that also shored us up for other things. So
yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't forget about that, but that's one of those things where, we checked it off, put it aside, and we have our SOP, and now we're moving on. Anything else about Ebbetts Pass that you want to share specifically before we get into any advice? So my next question is going to be any advice that you want to talk about for somebody who want to join the fire service, but is there anything specific about Ebbetts Pass that you want to mention?
Well, we're certainly, seems like we're recruiting all the time.
Okay.
Even though we have a small number of folks. So, hit us up on our Instagram account. I think we got a pretty good video showing what we do. It's a very special area, and if specialized response, we mention our, ratio of call volume and what we do the most. But as far as the community that we serve, they are the most fantastic community I've ever had the privilege to work with. Oh, supportive. And it really helps with that partnership between the fire district and the community. I mean, there's nothing better than, as silly as it sounds, just being in public and wearing this uniform and talking to the public about their most recent interaction with the fire district, and knowing that it's that partnership that built that fire district long before I came along, right?
Right. Yeah. That's a really good way to put it. It's a partnership with the community, as opposed to, hey, pay your taxes and this is what you get. It's a partnership. And
it is.
Yeah, it shows. So fire service, you said you're constantly recruiting.
Right.
There's something to be said about going to I don't want to call it a smaller jurisdiction because your land is so vast, but I would say
it's smaller,
a medium paced as opposed to large municipalities where you're pulling 15, 20 calls in a shift. That we talked a little bit about. We're prepping for this about the sleep deprivation and interrupted sleep schedules that could cause physical ailments as you get older, with less resiliency as you get older. How you want to end your 30 career. Do you want to, do 20 to 30 calls a night, or do you want to do less and have some sleep and some family time in that work balance? So what advice would you give to somebody other than coming to Ebbetts Pass to be a fireman?
Right.
What other advice would you give somebody, I don't know, maybe somebody coming out of high school, or, maybe somebody looking for a second career? What would you tell them?
Boy, I'll start off with, in the beginning, when I was testing to get hired somewhere, I remember being on the sidewalks waiting to get in the gymnasium where there's 5,000 of us in Stockton, and knowing that there's going to be 12 job openings if we were lucky.
Those are Elvis numbers, like people trying to see Elvis.
It's amazing. So you do the ratio and you do the math. It's really easy to get disheartened that you're ever going to get a job, right? So that was the 90s. And now we fast forward to modern days, and I'm seeing really kind of the polar effect of those numbers, where there's more jobs, I believe, out there that are available than there are probably people out there testing to do them, which is amazing to me. Amazing to me because I'm biased because I love this profession so much, right? So realistically.
That's a good bias.
So now I'm really seeing a change, and I'm just an observer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking as a subject matter expert by any means or anything, but I'm watching this artificial intelligence piece that's just seems like it's skyrocketing and doing all these great, cool things for us, right, as far as technology goes. And and I'm really urging the youth that are going into the workforce and really start making a cognitive decision on what are things that are, less AI,
right.
Possibly in the next 4 or 5, 10 years.
Okay.
And more, the more analytical, human factor-based jobs like law enforcement, for example, or firefighting, things that take a emergency manager's brain.
Right.
Every situation is 100% different than the last.
Right.
It takes that human factor, right? At least for the foreseeable future, I'm hoping. So I think I would love to see the droves of people come back into the fire service, public service, into those things, because I think the jobs are going to be there for the foreseeable future. So that would be one piece. As far as I've worked in a busy fire department, and I've worked for Ebbetts Pass, which I always like to say it's quality over quantity. It really is the bedside manner versus how many calls did you get after midnight would be your bragging rights, right? So
right.
So and I agree. I think that if you want, longevity in both career and other ways of life, quality of life, then and getting some rest at night, as of right now, we run about 2.5 calls a 24-hour shift, which you can get some rest in between those.
Right.
That's a goal to work towards.
Right.
Some folks that are young in their career, they want to go to where it's busy, lots of action, and usually where it's busy, lots of action. Hopefully, the salary reflects that too.
Yeah,
which is an attractor. I always feel like our salaries are really good for our area, but they're not competitive with the big Bay Area jobs or whatnot, and we just never will be.
The sheriff's department's the same way.
It is, but we offer something so much better.
Right.
And in my opinion, if you're going to work in the community and your kid's at the elementary school and you convince your fire captain, as long as there's not a call, you can go down there and watch the play for 5 minutes is huge, right? So these are some of the small town things that I hope continue for a very long time. I know it's my intent to continue it while I'm working there. Go
read a book to the class. I mean, that kind of interaction,
right?
Your kid's in the class and you go read a book to the class, or, career day, fill in the blank. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You mentioned AI too. That's a really good perspective of, and not to, I know there's a lot of successful travel agents out there, but with the way the internet exploded, a lot of the ones I knew, it was no longer lucrative. If I can go on travel, go on a engine search and go to a hotel broker, that site also brokers flights, which also brokers cars and rental cars. So that's a really good, we never would have thought travel agents would be in jeopardy, but that's a good point of the AI resistant career, if you will.
Right. And there's going to be, there's probably going to be things that it provides that are, you could have somebody do it, like your taxes, for an example.
Right.
I think we already see that, right?
Yeah.
So, or you, for a lesser price, you may get a product that's done not by a person.
Right.
But it just, that part of the pool gets less and less depth for those positions. Yeah, for sure.
So are degrees necessary? Columbia has a really good fire program.
They do.
That can can walk you through the basic, through multiple degrees.
Right.
Are advanced degrees, the BAs, BSs, are those necessary to get hired these days?
So depending on where you go to work.
Okay.
And I've worked at a place where when I started it wasn't there, but by the time I was not longer there, it was required to have a 4-year degree for a fire captain or higher.
Okay.
So I think that's more common in the bigger areas. And honestly, when I was in college, there wasn't a lot of options for. I mean, you just got a degree.
Right.
It wasn't a fire degree. You had to go to like Texas A&M, and it's like can't afford that, right? I mean, or go far away or travel.
Right.
But if you're a local and paying, you could afford to pay the local junior college rate. Well, maybe you got an associate's in, arts or something, but that still checked a box, right?
Right.
Now it's very specialized, more things. We're so thankful to have Columbia College as our local fire college to have a fire program.
I can't say enough about them. They are so
amazing,
they have
right?
it dialed in, absolutely dialed in for I don't want to say fast track, but a structured track through the process to become, full-time professional firefighter, paid or volunteer.
Sure. I agree.
Any closing comments or anything you think that you want the community to know? Well, what could they do to help other than the drone operator that we've beaten to death? Anything else you want the community to know, or any closing thoughts?
I think everybody has to be really contemporary and stay on top of whatever the newest best practices for alerts for emergencies.
Oh, good point. Good point.
And current, of course, our Calaveras County Office of Emergency Services folks stay on top of that, but they're also trying to evolve, right? So we're using Genesis.
The Genesis Protect mapping system, Know Your Zone.
Yep.
There's multiple alert systems, but yeah, that's a good point. Go to the OES website, Calaveras OES website specifically, and make sure you're signed up for local alerts, and make sure that if you change your phone number, make sure that you know your password. Check into it periodically to make sure your device has no hiccups. So when there is an emergency, you're not scrambling around the house. Is there an exclamation or a hashtag? Is it which one's capitalized?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I think that something I heard recently at a public speaking event from one of the folks is make sure everybody has their own account.
Okay.
So let's say if you're a husband and wife or something, and you put one or the other as the primary contact and the other as a secondary, and as soon as the primary acknowledges, the secondary doesn't get it. You know what I mean? So just little piece of information to go, let's refresh our memory.
Okay.
And maybe there's best practices, I guess is my point.
Right.
Because
that's a good point.
And our county is very contemporary when it comes to, I think we're one of the first to do the whole zones back when there were zones, right? And then now we evolve that again. And I still, when I see fires on watch duty, I realize, there's quite a few counties not using a zone system, right? It's so kudos, and our county's trying to do some really good work. So just make sure you know what that is.
And looking at those counties without the zones, when you think about evacuation, that's a nightmare. That is an absolute nightmare to try to figure out roads on the fly and west of this, north of that, and that could be a nightmare. I also heard something about the zones too. If you have your own account, those are geographically triggered sometimes. So, so make sure your device is yours to your account. So again, husband's in San Diego, wife's somewhere else. Right. Maybe the geographical triggers may not happen.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's a good point. All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. I really appreciate the time with you here today.
Yeah, you're always welcome back. I know things like you said, seems like Ebbetts Pass is changing constantly. So if you want to come back later and let us know what the updates are, we'd love to have you.
All right, that'd be great, Craig. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So thank you for tuning into today's episode of Calaveras Behind the Badge. We appreciate your engagement and hope you found this information valuable. Remember, your feedback and topic suggestions are always welcome as we strive to address issues that matter most to our community. Stay safe, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.